Alright, so now we're going to take a look at page 33, and I'll go over some problems there that will hopefully help you with your assignment. This first one's at number 18. It wants you to find, let's see, it says identify the slope and the y-intercept if it's possible to get a y-intercept of the equation of the line, and then sketch the line. And so I suppose we need a graph here to sketch something out. There we go. We'll sketch it on that. And so this is in the format y equals mx plus b. mx plus b. Where remember, b is your y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. Notice if you put 0 in for x in either one of these, you get y equaling a number. So you get 0, comma b for your y-intercept. And m is your slope. It's the coefficient of the x term. Here our coefficient is just a 1. 1x, x, saying the same thing there. So we know our slope is equal to 1, and our y-intercept is equal to negative 10. So if you're sketching this out on graph paper, you go down 10, and then you're going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and you can sketch your line going through there like that. Next one, y equals negative 3 halves. I think I'm missing an x right here. Y equals negative 3 halves x plus 6. So once again, it's in y equals mx plus b. I know my slope is negative 3 halves. It's the coefficient of the x. Just make sure your y is by itself. And then my slope, not my slope, my y-intercept is equal to 6. So once again, let me put a graph in. So our b is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our slope is negative 3 halves, so we go down 1, 2, 3 over 2. We go up 3 and 2 this way, and then our line is going to be connecting the dots right here. Remember, if the slope is negative, it's going to be going downhill from left to right, which all of that matches up with what we've got going on. Next one, 5x minus 2 is equal to 0. So keep in mind something here. There's no y in this equation. Excuse me, I should put graphs in here earlier. Let me do that now. But there's no y in this equation. 5x minus 2 is equal to 0. So let's solve for x. Get x by itself. Add 2 to both sides. You get 5x is equal to 2, or x is equal to 2/5. So whenever we have x is equal to something or y is equal to something, we're either going to have a vertical or horizontal line. If it's x equals something, like here, x equals 2/5, that means it's everywhere possible that x could be 2/5. Your x coordinate is 2/5. So in this case, 2/5 is just under half right here. Now notice when I draw this line, anywhere on this line, if you give me an ordered pair, it's going to go something like, for right here it'd be 2/5, comma 0. Right here it would be 2/5, comma 3. Down here it would be, say this point right here is 2/5, comma negative 4. It's everywhere x could be negative, or x could be positive 2/5. And so it's a vertical line. So what's the slope of a vertical line? Slope is undefined. If you think about it this way, remember slope is your rise over your run. We're rising from this point right here to this point right here. We have a rise of 3, but the run is none. And remember, we can never, ever, ever have 0 in the denominator. We can never divide by 0. So that makes our slope undefined. Now, where does it cross the y-axis? Well, it doesn't. So this is one of those cases where you do not have it crossing the y-axis. Let me put in another graph here. And so now we've got 2x plus 3y equals 9. This is not in slope-intercept form. And so let's take a moment, see if you can figure out what is the slope of the line and what is the y-intercept. So get y by itself to put it into slope-intercept form. Subtract 2x from both sides, you get 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. Divide both sides by 3, you get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. And so now we can see our y-intercept must be 3. Our slope is down is negative 2/3, so you go down 2 over 3. And then you're going to sketch your line using that right there. Line goes through it. Next one, y plus 4 equals 0. Take a moment while I put a graph in and see if you can get y plus 4 equals 0, what that looks like. So for this one, y equals negative 4. Notice there's no x here. So if you're thinking about it in the form of y equals mx plus b, what do we put in for m to get rid of the x? Well, the m must have been 0. So our slope here is 0. And then our y-intercept, when x is 0, what is y equal to? Well, y equals negative 4. In fact, because the equation doesn't have an x in it, we can say it must be everywhere that y could be negative 4. It's kind of like our value we had earlier with when we had x equaled something. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to draw a horizontal line right there. Notice any point you pick on this thing, your slope is going to be 0, or your slope of the line is going to be 0, but your y-coordinate is going to be negative 4. For instance, let's pick 2 points. This is at an x value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, comma, negative 4 for your y. Right here is positive 2, a negative 4 for your y. So it's everywhere where y could be negative 4, so it's a horizontal line. The slope, you can think of it as, hey, there's no slope on this thing, so it's 0. It's completely flat, no steepness at all. Or if you did it using your equation as rise over run, if you subtract the y values over subtracting the x values, remember slope is delta y over delta x. So my change in x values is going to be 2 minus a negative 5. My change in y is going to be negative 4 minus a negative 4. So up top we get 0, in the bottom we get 7. 0 divided by 7 gives you 0. So no matter what point you pick, you're always going to get 0 for a slope there. I'm going to do one example from the bottom of page 33, and that's going to be negative. Let's do number 33. 5, negative 7, and 8, negative 7. So it wants you to find the slope between these 2 points and to plot them. I'm going to assume you know how to plot these 2 points. You still got to do it for your homework. You've got to plot them and show me, but I'm not going to demonstrate that here. What I do want to make sure is that you're doing the equation for slope correctly. And so slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, it's your change in y. Another way to look at it is delta y over delta x. Delta means change. So it's your delta y over your delta x. And my computer's lagging on me. Hold on a second. There we go. So I always tell my students when you're coming up with a slope, because it's really easy to do, but it's also really easy to mess up on, is to write out the equation like this first. Put your negatives in there, and always, always, always label your stuff xy, xy, put a 1 with one group, and a 2 with the other. If you're careful with this, you should never, ever, ever get these wrong. It's when people get in a hurry that they start getting them wrong. So now you just substitute in your values. Negative 7, and let's see here, negative 7. Put in for your x2, 8, and your x1, 5. It's kind of like the last problem we did, because these two right here just become 0, and this is 3, but it doesn't matter what the bottom becomes, because the top is 0, the whole thing's going to go to 0. So your slope there is 0, it's a horizontal line. But that's the method I want you to take when you're looking for the slope between 2 points. Put down your negatives first and then slowly substitute those in so you don't make any silly mistakes. Alright, and so now I'm going to look at number 53. This is on the next page, page 34. And my specific instructions is I want you to put this not in slope-intercept form like they want, but I want it in point-slope form. Don't forget what point-slope form is. It is y2 minus y1 is equal to m times x2 minus x1, where x1 and y1 is a point on the line, and x2, y2 is a point somewhere else on the line. M is the slope of the line. If you have a hard time remembering this, most students remember that slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's been in your head since Algebra 1. Well, all we're doing is multiplying both sides by the denominator here, x2 minus x1. So if you multiply this side by x2 minus x1, those guys cancel, and you get y2 minus y1. But you got to do the same thing to the other side, and you end up with x2 minus x1, in parentheses here, times the m. And notice that is your point-slope form of the equation. So that's what we want to see here. In fact, I'm just going to label this x1, y1. They give me the m, so it's simply y minus 6 is equal to my slope times x minus a negative 3. Just like with circles, we need to clean up our minus negatives. So let's go back and do that. And that becomes a positive 3. And so there's my first one there. Let's go to the next one. For number 57, once again, they're giving me everything I need to write this out. I'm going to say y minus a negative 3, which is y plus 3, is equal to negative 1/2 times x minus 2. And I did, just checking here, okay. Making sure I put them in the right spot. Sometimes it's easy to switch these two around when you're plugging them in. Because up here they give you x first and then y, and down here you're writing y first and then x. So that's why I should have done x1, y1, just to remind myself, label those things. I'm going to jump down to 67 now, where they give you 2 points and they want you to write it. They're saying, once again, slope-intercept. I want you to write it in point-slope. So the first thing we need to do is find out what is the slope. So label these x1, y1, x2, y2. And remember how I told you to substitute them in like this. So do that, 7 and 1, and then we get negative 8 and negative 8. So this actually gives me 0 on the bottom and 6 up top, which is undefined. So the slope is undefined, and that tells me that it's going to be a vertical line. Well, if it's a vertical line, that tells me also that the x value must stay the same. If it doesn't stay the same, then I've got a change in x and I've got a slope. So the x value must be negative 8, so our equation for this line is x equals negative 8. Number 70. Once again, they're giving me 2 points. I know this looks kind of funny. It was just easier to type it out like this. But I'm going to label this x1, y1, this one x2, y2, and then I'm just going to find the slope of the line first. So slope is your change in y's over your change in x's. So I got negative 2/3 minus 1, and then 6 minus 1 right here. So I get 5 on the bottom. Negative 2/3 minus 3/3 is going to give me negative 5/3. See that? This becomes 3/3. And then say negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5, and put it over 3. So this is a fraction over a number. Let's make him a fraction. And so now I can say the first fraction times the reciprocal of that fraction in the denominator. Negative 5 over 5, those guys just cancel. End up with negative 1/3. There's my slope. So if negative 1/3 is my slope, now I want to write it out in point-slope form. So I can pick either one of these to be my point that I substitute in. I'm going to pick this one because it's a little bit prettier. It doesn't have any fractions in it. So y minus 1 is equal to my slope, negative 1/3 times x minus 1. Now, suppose you don't think that's prettier. Suppose you think this one's prettier. You could have done that as well. You could have said y minus a negative 2/3, same thing as y plus 2/3, is equal to negative 1/3 times x minus 6. That is also the exact same line as the one written below. It's just written using a different point and point slope form. So either one is an acceptable answer. Okay? And I think, yep, that's it for this. So hopefully this helped you out. And as always, let me know if you have any questions.